Always wondered, and I've got the answers. Stay tuned. Hey, Portland, welcome to Portland Tea Party, your favorite show about Portland, the tea, and where the party's at. I'm your host, Ciara Pressler, and this is episode 19 already. We've been going every Friday all year, and it's my intention to bring you what's happening the rest of this year because I want you to understand what's happening with the Portland City transition. But wait, does that sound boring to you? I'm trying to make it more interesting, first of all. I'm going to make it as interesting as possible. And I think it's really important that you know, because if you live in Portland or you work in Portland, you pay taxes in Portland, you play in Portland, all of these things apply to you because this is where your money goes, your taxes go, and who is making the decisions that affect your life. So I want you to understand how the game works so that if you want to change the game, you can. All right. Want to say thank you to a few friends today. First of all, thank you to Karen for these dope disco ball earrings. And we are broadcasting live from my dining room where from here I can see 4 different disco balls. My house definitely has a theme. So thank you for those of you who keep it on theme. And also Travel Portland for these amazing flowers. This is the most beautiful bouquet I've ever seen from Sammy's, of course, the best florist in Portland. It smells amazing. And this is a thank you for emceeing their Travel Portland Awards and State of the Industry event last week. So much fun. If you weren't there, we're going to get some photos up for you. It was really a great celebration and pep rally for all that is Portland. All right. The news of the week is that the primary elections happened May 21st. The results are mostly in. As of right now, I believe a couple races may hang in the balance by a matter of like 20 votes as of, I think, yesterday, okay? So this is why the primary matters. I've been teaching you throughout the year why the primary matters so much. And there's one thing I haven't talked about yet, which is the runoff. So in Multnomah County, I'm not sure if Metro, and I think formerly in Portland, if one of the several candidates running in the primary gets over 50% of the vote, or maybe it's a certain margin, it's so confusing. And I concentrate on trying to learn this stuff. So how can the average, that's why we're doing this show. So if they get, over 50%, then they just kind of automatically win. However, if there's a certain margin, like the second most person also gets to be in a runoff with them. So we keep going till November. So some of these races have been decided. You don't get to decide them in November because they were already decided this week. That's why you vote in the primary. And then some of the other ones are going to keep going. What I am most eager to see is who, out of the people who did not win this week, is going to get in the Portland race, because we did not vote on Portland elected officials this week. We voted on Multnomah County commissioners, Metro councilors, our congressperson, president, but we're not focusing on federal in this show. So the Portland races, because we now are going to go to ranked choice voting, you're going to see everybody, like maybe 12 people in your district running, and you're going to pick like your top 3. We're going to get into how that works, and I'm going to explain it step by step closer to that election. But the thing is here, you don't have to file to run until August. And so we still have a few months to even know definitely who's going to be on the ballot. And some people, declared they were running way back in like January. They want the long runway to like help people get to know them and what they stand for. Some people are going to jump in, I bet, right now because they didn't win in the other races, but they still want to serve in public office. So that to me is going to be the tea of who jumps in the next few weeks or months. However, also, we're going to see some people dropping out. So already we see some of the most promising city council candidates for Portland dropping out of the race before the election, right? Because they're starting to realize what it really takes to and it's not that they can't win, it's that it takes a huge toll on your life. And we're going to talk to some people about that kind of thing. I don't want to have people on the show to like campaign and tell us what, because we can't possibly do that in a fair way. I would love to moderate a debate, but it would be a debate about parties because that's what our show stands for. If I started a political party, it would be called the Party Party. You would join that, right? You would register for the Party Party. And so I want to ask those candidates hard-hitting questions like favorite dance place, favorite karaoke song. If you want to sponsor that debate, let's talk. PortlandTeaParty.com at Portland Tea Party. But let's get into why you're really tuning in today. I'm not going to talk about who won because you should go to the most reliable actual news source for that information. And that is going to be the Secretary of State website for the state of Oregon. So you can look that up, I believe Oregon.gov, or just Google it and you'll be able to find the Secretary of State website because that's where the official results get reported. Okay, it is time for the real tea. Do you ever wonder how much government people make? Like, people talk about government jobs like, oh, government job is good. And some people are like, oh, I would never work for the government and take that pay cut. So, it's all relative. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to try not to editorialize too much because a number is just a fact, but then put in its context, the number gets meaning. So we want to start with the fact, then we'll make a little meaning out of it and talk about, what are the pros and cons of some of these numbers potentially. And this is, in my opinion, from my viewpoint, of being a pretty civically engaged citizen, but also working with government from the private sector. I'm a consultant to people in government. But, I was curious, like, how much money do they make? Because, we're curious. Well, you can look up every single city of Portland salary very easily. I'll drop the link in the notes. And it has last fiscal year's salary. So like 2022 to 23. It's through the Oregonian. They've posted every single salary and you can sort by who makes the most, who makes the least. You can search particular roles or names. The top highest paid people in the city of Portland are, you think it's the mayor? It is not even close. It is firefighters, people in Portland Fire and Rescue, and police because of overtime, right? So that's why we have to get enough people staffed because we pay more in overtime, right? Or maybe sometimes it's better to pay overtime. I don't know. Some economists could probably make an argument either way. I'd be very curious to know. But you may not be going to school at this point for becoming a firefighter. So let's find out, if you want to run for office this year, how much money are people making? I've got the results for you, and I will also drop them in the show notes. So behold, my brand new whiteboard, gorgeous, untouched. You are getting the premier scribble on this whiteboard. All right, your first question, of course, is Portland mayor. How much money do you think that the mayor makes? Trillions? You're wrong. It is, and some of these might be 2022 numbers, but I was Googling pretty fast. But reliable sources is making 143K. I'm going to round it to the nearest thousand. 143, that's a lot for most people, right? That's a pretty high percent for our area. You could definitely live off of 143. Plus, I will say government benefits pretty sick. They've got that healthcare, they've got that pension. You vest after 5 years in what's called PERS, the pension system in Oregon. So if you've been the mayor for 4 years, you won't be vested. But if you did, a couple of terms like our mayor has, or, he was the state treasurer before that, I believe. So, he's well vested into that. I believe electeds get into PERS. Well, everyone else in government does. I should double check that. However, in our new form of government, which starts January 1st, 2025, He's now going to make, oh my gosh, not he's not running. She or they is now going to make we need a much bolder color for that. $175K. Make it rain on the mayor. That is not small. That's more money than I make. Probably more money than you make. But do you want the job of mayor? The big question people are asking, I'll tell you after city council. All right, PDX council. How much do they make right now? $125K. That seems fair that they make less than the mayor, but that's for Portland, that is good money. You can live off of $125K, no probs. No probs. Unless you are, if you can't live off of $125 in Portland, we need to do a little personal finance coaching. Yes. In the new form of government, the councilors are going to make $133K. Now, this has been a bit controversial. No one's been talking about the mayor's pay. Everyone's been talking about these councilors because we're going from 4 to 12. So it's like, oh, we're going to be spending so much more money. Well, their staffs are not going to be as big because right now, with these black numbers, they are running bureaus. When they move to these red numbers, they're only doing policy. Right now, bureaus and policy. Red, just policy. So is the increase merited when some would say they're doing less work? That's the controversy. Other than that, how do you like these numbers? I don't know. Is it worth going through a campaign for the next 6 months? I really don't know. So you decide. But there's other people who represent us here. Let's look at the state. This is, y'all, I'm concerned about the state. Let's start with the biggest controversy last year, which was the Secretary of State. I'm just going to let this ball roll immediately. What the actual F? Because $77K for the Secretary of the State in charge of how all our businesses pay taxes, you pay taxes, how the voting goes. Of course, they're not the single person, but I don't like that number. And there was a scandal last year because the Secretary of State at the time was doing consulting and getting paid actually more on the side than in their Secretary of State role. And some people were like, oh, but she doesn't make enough money. And I'm like, come on, it's clearly an ethical issue if you're getting paid more from somewhere else, actively for work done, not passive income like, investments, although investments do present a dicey area as well. But if someone's making more money outside of their full-time job than within their full-time job somewhere else, especially working for a for-profit business in the state, this was a cannabis business, problematic. So they had to resign. But the salary was never raised. It seems like a basic reaction to that would also be to make the salary higher. Now, $77K is nothing to laugh about. It is, but for a job of that import and the people you want to attract to that job, you don't want just people who want power. You want people who want it to be their livelihood, right? And so when people who are like very well paid, like a lawyer or maybe a doctor or maybe like a YouTube host wants to run for office, they're like, I make more money now. Why would I make less money to do more work? So you gotta be competitive enough to attract the best talent, just like any job. But it is taxpayer money, but they do get all those benefits, but they can take side gigs. It's weird. The state gets weirder. Governor, I was shocked when I looked this up. $98,600 per year. And it has not changed in 10 years. We're in the bottom 5 of the whole country for governor pay. The recent scandal has been about the governor making an office of the first spouse to come work. Well, yeah, if I had a, 2-person income, I would want my spouse working, and they might as well work in the place they have to be all the time. So I don't know how her wife gets paid, but, I mean, I don't think the governor should make less than the city councilors of Portland or the mayor. That's my opinion. And the salary should go up after 10 years. Because what happens here, oh, wait, first let me tell you. State legislature. This is state legislature. Get ready to cringe. $35,000. Now, it is a part-time job. It's not going to be a full-time job probably anytime soon. But what are the problems with a number this low? Well, when it's a part-time job and a number that low, first of all, it can't be somebody's only job and they survive really well, especially if they are providing for other people, have dependents. And they need the kind of job they can walk away from for several months out of the year to go to the legislature sessions, to campaign, to meet with constituents, all of that. So definitely they are doing something else that pays them more, right? So what we're doing when we have lower paying government jobs, and this is all editorial, this is my interpretation of the numbers, which are facts, you may interpret them differently. Fact, opinion is that when you don't pay people enough, they're going to be beholden to other forces. And you also favor people who don't have to make money, right? So if I'm just wealthy or I just have enough money to not have to work and, this money kind of doesn't matter to me, then you're getting the people who already have wealth and power and privilege in these offices and not truly a representation of the people. That, I think, is the biggest problem with paying politicians too low of a salary. A couple more positions I just want to let you know about because we have more than this in Portland. I hope you can see all the way down here. We have Multnomah Commissioner for Multnomah County. This was a huge race. I think all but one of the commissioners are up for re-election, and we just heard who some of the new people are going to be. Some of those are still really close. Check that out again on the Secretary of State website, which she can barely afford to maintain. Multco. What? 124. Okay. And I think that was 2 years ago, so I don't know if it's gone up. But here's the other thing. You want to be on the Multnomah County Commission and you want to be the chair of it? Boom. Can you see that? 207. What? I want to be the Multnomah County Commissioner. So yeah, they're making money. The Multnomah County, this is what they're running. The Multnomah County is where the sheriff, incarceration is happening locally. This is where health is getting decided. A lot of the homelessness issues, things really important. You have to understand what we talk about in other episodes, who does what. So you can't get mad at these guys for stuff that these guys were doing. We'll get back to that. Last one I want to tell you about is Metro. Metros are controversial form of government that is tri-county. So it's the whole Portland metropolitan area, not, of course, the Washington side of Vancouver, but Multnomah, Clackamas, Washington counties, and then there are council people from there. This number can't be right. Please check this, but this was a cursory search. So it said that there are only 52. That can't be right. I mean, because this is a full-time job, I believe. Definitely fact check this. I'm gonna put a question mark here because I don't want you to believe me just because I said it on YouTube. However, the Metro chair was clocking at 158. That's a lot. That's a lot for this area, right? I mean, for a bigger city, I hope people are making more. I think the next round of numbers that would be interesting to look at would be what's happening in cities of a similar size, a smaller size, and what's happening in the really big cities. LA, New York, Chicago. Are they paying people a lot more? Are this more similar size cities like a Minneapolis or maybe like a Charleston? I'm just picking words. Austin. Are they paying people about the same? Their tax revenues are very different as well. We pay quite high taxes here in Portland, quite high. So that's the tea or iced coffee, depending on what you're drinking today. Take a look at those numbers. Maybe you're looking for a new job and you found exactly what you want to do. When we get back, where the party's at. Okay, it's party time, and I'm reading right off of my screen here. I got all of these events from the Prosper Portland newsletter. Prosper Portland used to be called Portland Development Commission. I know I'm not supposed to say that because they're trying to shed that reputation. I digress. But they are like the business economic development agency of Portland. And I'm actually a big fan of a lot of the work they're doing. They're really leading the way in supporting a lot of small business entrepreneurship and local and a lot of equity efforts as well. And everyone I know who works there is good guys. So that's really awesome. And they send out a newsletter that's mostly about city stuff, but also grants you can apply for and things happening. And they had a lot of really good events in this week's newsletter. So let me tell you a few. So first of all, Portland's signature event starts this weekend, and that is the Rose Festival. The Rose Festival for the Rose City. It's going to go for a few weeks. It includes that wonderful carnival in Waterfront Park. The parade is going to be in a couple of weeks. And so make sure you get out and celebrate that Rose Festival. It's just old-timey fun. We also have the Portland Flea happening this weekend. Oof, I love a deal. Very exciting. And the Multnomah County Fair is also happening. If you want to get downtown, see what's happening, next Wednesday, the 29th, is West End Wednesday, and every last Wednesday of the month. So if you go to West End, which is just downtown, but kind of the more northwest corner of it, it's really fun. It's just a cool time to walk around, get drinks, go into businesses. They stay open late. Some of the businesses that are never open to the public open up. So you definitely want to go check that out. It's a great energy to be down there. And there's a few things coming up beyond that I want you to start planning for. There's going to be the Blend Festival, which I'm really excited about, happening the second weekend of June. There's going to be My People's Market, also a Prosper Portland and Travel Portland effort where we get to see a showcase of tons of local entrepreneurs and makers of color and food and music. It is always one of my favorite events, My People's Market, coming up in June also. And then, of course, third week of June, we've got the 8 Seconds Juneteenth Rodeo. Get your tickets before they sell out. I am the hugest fan of that event. So you want to make sure you get online, get those tickets before they're gone, because it is going to be lit this year. All right, Portland, that is all for this week. I will be back to you in May 31st and then June with some interviews with some of my favorite leaders. We'll be bringing those back for you. And remember, if you want to win the game, you got to know the game to change the game.